Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I have two returning guests, two amazing friends. This is Boris Garbe. He is the gallerist at Mills Gallery. Gallery is absolutely beautiful. It's in the Mills 50 area here in Orlando. He's a talented advocate. I'll let him use all the adjectives for himself and adverbs and all that good stuff. But Boris is a dear friend and he believes and loves our community. And I also have with me another dear friend, Juan Pablo Santa Luna. Juan is a community unifier. He is currently working with the Orlando Philharmonic, but he's doing so much more. And today we're going to talk about being a community unifier, being a community advocate, and Juan's new show, which is A Conversation With, co-produced by the one and only Boris Garbe. So welcome to both of you. It's so weird to not look at you. We have to look ahead for the camera. How are you today? Good?
I'm good. We are doing great.
You are good. You all, we should have had one of those blooper reels for before we went live because, wow, the conversation has been powerful and important.
Always.
And funny.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot to say. All three of us are really big about giving back to our community, and they both do it in such a beautiful way, a very public way. And so it's an honor to have them on the show. All right. So before we get started, for those people who might be under a rock, we'll start with you, Boris. We'll save the best for last. I had to throw that in there, Juan. Boris, tell them a little bit about you.
I started, I've been here in Central Florida since 1979. I was a teacher, I was a realtor, I was really many professions until I entered the art world and I became a gallerist. A gallerist is a person who runs a gallery. That's the real title. I'm not a curator in the sense that I don't have that education and that experience, but I own a gallery now. I do work with real galleries, curators, including Jennifer McInnes-Coolidge, who's also kind of his boss in a way, But so she of course has almost 30 years experience in the business. So Mills is run by professionals, but I am a gallerist. I'm kind of the person who put it together. And the great joy that I have, and this is true, is that I've been able to use my platform and my many opportunities to allow other people to find themselves and to find their way.
I agree with that 100%.
And we were just discussing earlier in the pre-interview how it's your fault because you're the one who said to me, you need to start.
You can say mentoring, encouraging. You're an encourager.
An encourager, right.
It's always my fault.
And that's that, and right. So
always my fault. Well, if you have not checked out Mills Gallery, you are missing out. They have a launch this week. We just had Christy Lee on from Christy Lee Art, the feminine, raw and vulnerable, I believe. So that is November 3rd,
Friday. Yes.
Friday. So that kicks off. It's the opening. It's her solo exposition. All right. Without further ado, we have the very handsome Juan Pablo Santa Luna. He is here. So tell us a little bit about you, Juan.
Well, Ted, it is always a pleasure for me to be here. You were one of the first persons here in Orlando that really believe in all this craziness of unifying the whole community, especially the Hispanic one. So thank you for having us here. It is a pleasure. So I am Juan Pablo Santa Luna. Before I start, I want to add something to what Boris said. And Mills Gallery is not just an art gallery. It was award as the best art gallery in town by Orlando Magazine. So and we have proof of that. And so it's not just a gallery; it's just a place to gather and where relevant people come to get together to move the progress of Orlando forward.
Yes.
So I am part of the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra. I am a philanthropist and cultural ambassador. So what I do is I bring new investors, donors to believe in the power of transformation of music. So I'm in the business of changing lives also. So I bring people to invest in the arts and culture, but I also promote kind of give a better understanding of what classical music means for my Hispanic community and also for the minorities. And it helps as a connector with the American community. So it's a very challenging job, but I really love it. So yeah, that's pretty
It's
much
you.
what I've been doing.
You have a passion, both of you do, for helping people and being an advocate for people, encouraging people, unifying people. I love all those words. I sit here and I don't really have a reason to be, but I'm so proud of you and what you've accomplished and the impact that you have made in Central Florida. And all of that to me goes back to your belief system, the way that you really believe in what you do, and the power of helping other people see the good. And that's what you do really, really well. So I'm super proud of you. I think it's amazing what you're doing. So let's talk. And Boris, please pop in anytime I've missed out. You know, he's dying, literally dies. He wants to take the show over. So we're going to let him.
Okay. No, I'm beaming with pride too, because obviously I had a little bit to do with this. But I want to tell you how Juan and I met, because Juan is an artist. You know, he's a painter. And he came to, next month will be 2 years. 2 years that I've known this guy. That's what makes this whole journey so incredibly remarkable. He came into Mills with his painting under his arm. He did everything right. He had an appointment. He came on time. He dressed correctly, all that. I met him. I liked his art, but what I saw something else. I said that there's more to you, you know. He immediately, we put together a show with a poster designed by Victor Bocas. The title of the show was
Worse Than Suicide.
It was so freaking controversial that the gallery City Arts that showed it, they questioned the title. Victor Bocas didn't want to create the poster either, because it was just such a controversial thing. But everybody came around once Juan explained what he was trying to do. So that's how he landed in Orlando.
Beautiful.
What occurred then is that people like Juan, they really respect him. And the opportunity that started presenting themselves for him to start representing, as he calls it, his Hispanic community became abundant. As a matter of fact, within a year and a half, he was on the cover of 2 newspapers, La Prensa, one, and then of course the latest one is the Lake Nona, what is it called?
Nona Hood News.
Nona Hood News, and he made the cover of that, you know, and it is interesting to me that all of this has happened in 2 years, you know, and that says something about you, Juan, you know, your climate, the fact that people like you and the other relevant influencers in Orlando, politicians, and that's how I think that's the official start of your story.
Well, I want to add something to that, and it is that I believe that just teamwork makes like something better every time. And I mean, through Mills Gallery and through your lead, you know, like you build all this cool place where people can go there and talk about life and about getting better and about moving the progress forward. So I think that you have a role as an educator also, and you have some source of knowledge that you want to pass, because that's the way that we live a legacy. So I believe that is part of a team, and without all these moving parts, like they are necessary to all this to work, it is not possible. So yeah, that's
Thank you, and thanks to Boris. And I mean that, because I think one of the reasons why we connected, and before we went live, I was talking about this with you. You just have this. You can tell when you can tell that you have a passion, that you're real and authentic and vulnerable, and you're not afraid to speak what's in your heart and on your mind. And I think that is such a beautiful gift. And what you're doing is, as you are spreading that love out there and spotlight, people are drawn to you. And so they're going to be drawn to anything that you affiliate with, like the Orlando Philharmonic. People want to know more about Juan and what makes him tick and why he is the way he is, and why it is so easy to have a conversation with you, and why it's so wonderful to hear you talk about your passion for community unifying and advocacy. So just big kudos to you. And I know this has been a big kudo fest, but I think it's very important to understand what he's working on and what he's working towards. So is it okay, Boris, if we start talking about a conversation with.
Right, but may I say one more thing?
That's why I asked, y'all. That's why I asked.
I think what's really interesting is that how would you define what you're doing? You're trying to bring the communities together.
Well, there is a big gap here between American community and Hispanic community, and also the minorities. So I saw that opportunity, and I started just talking to people and find out that community unifier is needed to unify diverse community with diverse background, diverse manners, diverse. So a community unifier is like what.
And so what Juan is doing now has been attempted before by many wonderful people, but for some reason it's working for Juan. Like Juan has now met with the ambassador of Colombia. We're now just one step away from the president. And, Juan, I do hope you talk about your dream with the galleries, the international.
We are in times that we need to make relevant decisions, and sometimes we have to disrupt ourselves in order not to be disrupted by somebody else. So the Colombian government is putting a lot of effort on bringing Colombians together here in the country, and then trying to find the right connector to the country, Colombia and the United States. So I believe that arts and culture is the only way to do it, because we talk about religions, they unify just a portion, politics unify a portion, but when we talk about music, art, we can get all together around. So I found out that that's the right connector. It's been working great. So people are listening, and one of my biggest dreams is to unify arts and culture from Colombia and Orlando, and to do this interchange of the best art galleries from there, bring them here. So do collaborations and to show that it is possible to bring something magnificent and new. So I'm attempting to do that with Mills, bringing like the top galleries. And when I talk about top, I mean not the best art, but the best people inside, the people that really take care of their artists, educate them, take the time to prepare to do a great exhibition. Those type of galleries, not the most renowned out there because they sell like masterpieces from all times. No, it's just
we'll take them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So the idea is to bring relevant people with relevant art galleries just to keep moving. Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, now we can talk about our conversation.
Thank you. I like my director. I can take direction. I'm good. All right. So when you brought this to me, a conversation with, I thought, all right, this is good. We need this. We need to continue to have conversations. Actually, that comes up a lot. You probably heard that terminology. We have to have a conversation about this. We have to have a conversation about that. I love the concept of this.
The simplicity.
It's simple, but it's powerful. Because without the conversation, we can't make the progress that Juan's talking about. We have to continue to have that open dialogue. So tell me about the impetus. How did this come to be, Juan? How did the conversation come to be?
You want me to be honest? Absolutely. It came from a source of inspiration, and that's you. Because what you do, bringing people together, gave me the idea to maybe put my own flavor and just to bring different conversations. So when I see how powerful all these shows and conversations are, so I thought about bringing relevant people like politicians, educators, people from the arts and culture, and to talk about what they do, why they do it, and what is the force that moves them to do relevant things, and talking from the human side. Sometimes we forget that we are human beings because our jobs, but sometimes it's good to remind, hey, we're still human. So just talk about what moves these leaders in our community to make the decisions that they do. Sometimes, finding the source of our decision-making progress could help us to make better decisions. So bringing all those things alive in a conversation from a different perspective, talking without, like a friendly conversation, maybe with different sets, making feel like we are just having a nice chat. So that was the initial idea, and we have very relevant people in our list.
Yes, so are you allowed to talk about that?
Yes, throw it out there.
Okay, so I can list all. Well, I know two, maybe three.
Well,
tell me who we're talking about first, Boris. Come on,
so
help me out.
We have a third producer, and her name is Tana Ray. She's our line producer, and she really represents the younger community. She's, I think, in her late 20s.
Yeah,
and so she represents young people. Because I, at 57, I mean, I represent a certain group, and I have my own view and stuff like that. Juan is, of course, much younger than me and represents several communities in Tana. So we're hoping that Tana is going to have a conversation with Ana Escamani, and this guy here is going to talk to his friend.
We are going to have Maxwell Alejandro Frost, the youngest politician in, and he is American Hispanic, so he is a force that we need to find.
He is a force.
His what moves him, and so I want to have a conversation with Maxwell Alejandro Frost. Yeah.
The first episode, of course, was with Patty Sheehan, and I think you and I talked a lot about this. For me, I never take a political stand. My parents are uncomfortable with the fact that I've now kind of dipped into politics because as an immigrant with a brick and mortar business, you know this, Ted, we don't take chances because the last thing we want is to offend the right or the left and stuff like that. But there are several state bills that have passed, and one of them is State Bill 1580 that allows, it's called the medical conscience, something other, which allows doctors and hospitals, private hospitals, to deny healthcare to openly gay people such as myself. That's why I wanted to talk to Patty Sheehan, an openly gay politician, and find out what she felt about this. So for me personally, I'm so glad that Juan allowed me to have the first conversation with, and that's why for me personally, I'm so invested. I'm nervous about this because you know that I've never really brought that side out. I'm not hiding that I'm gay. That's never been.
Correct.
But this is the first time that I'm making myself this vulnerable, and I think that's what's so interesting about this conversation with. You can't have secrets anymore.
No, you can't have secrets. What I love about you bringing this up is that it's a conversation that needs to be had, because having a conversation with Patty Sheehan, with Congressman Frost, I think you read about it. It's different when it's one-on-one and you're having a discussion, a conversation, and you're really hearing the passion that's not press rhetoric, that's real discussion, a real open heart discussion with them about something that's important to you, and you're learning what's important to them and why. That humanizes, and I think because we've become so desensitized, because of nothing against my friends that are in the traditional press, but traditional press tends to go one way or the other, and we get a lot of rhetoric. I love the idea of the fact that you're hearing them speak what's important to them and the why, because that's the only way to make that connection. Reading, it's one thing. People get all their news primarily from Facebook and social media, and so they're only reading these quick little snippets, and they either believe it or don't, and then they move on to the next one. You all are going to have that conversation with them that's so important.
Well, and I have to say this. When Juan and I started talking about what to ask Patty Sheehan, I said to him, I really want to ask her about that. And he goes, do it. Just go for it. And that's why I'm a little emotional, because I am scared. I mean, we live in a time where being openly gay is not okay anymore, and the fact that I could be turned down medical attention because I'm gay it's
insane.
It's insane. It's the only way. But Juan has his own law that he's battling,
Well, which is in regards to immigration. As you know, Hispanic community is growing here in Central Florida. So with all these laws, I mean, they are affecting both sides, the ones who implement the law and the ones who receive it. So it doesn't make any sense, and having a conversation, like a really honest conversation about how can we unify. And I heard Congressman Frost saying one day that he would like to hear from the other side also to get the best of it, to focus on the things that we have in common and not in our differences. And it just rang a bell in my head and said, that's the most important thing. Let's talk about what we have in common and how we can move both sides and the progress of this beautiful country. Because if we have no leadership, I mean, this is like we are doing nothing here. So with Congressman Frost, I want to talk about what he thinks about it and how can we maybe use music, how can we use arts and culture just to bring us together and not apart.
So I love that. Yeah. Absolutely love that. I think there are people who are open to that, and you're interviewing them, you're having a conversation with them. Sometimes it's difficult to get people to have an open dialogue, but I feel like you are targeting the people, and hopefully they can target other people, because that's what you want to do. You want to be able, the more open conversations you can have, the better, because we have a lot of small-minded, I can say it, I'm not, this is my show. A lot of small-minded people who tend to be screaming the loudest, and so it appears that they're running the world. And I just want to put out a challenge to you all that they're getting things done, like the 2 bills that they're talking about. And so we need to really open up and begin to have these conversations, because rights are being taken away, rights are being challenged, people are hurting because we are not having the conversations, and we're not challenging the people, the small-minded people who are creating these environments for us.
And this is the one part where I'm probably going to go on a ledge here. I love the press here in Orlando. I have never had a negative experience with anybody, nobody. But I am surprised, Ted, that the question that I asked Patty Sheehan has not been asked aloud in other media. I'm kind of worried about that's being kind of brushed to the side, and this is too big, I think, to be brushed to the side.
I think you have one. I like our local media.
Right.
So I've not had a bad experience. That's not a challenge, by the way. But I feel like there are some people editorially who are speaking out at our local newspaper and trying to bring some of that to light. And we're blessed in our bubble. We're very blessed in the state of Florida, in our Central Florida bubble, because outside of the bubble looks a lot like the rest of the world right now. And so I'm super thankful to our leadership, our advocates, our unifiers, because I feel like we live in a world where we can talk sense. And so kudos to them, and kudos to our local paper and our local press.
No, but also, Ted, please, you're taking a risk too now, because you've always been an ally for the gay community, for the Hispanic community, and all of that is not becoming cool anymore.
It's not cool,
and that's outrageous that this is happening in this country.
It's
People
outrageous.
are not talking up. We're not allowed to say that we're gay anymore. It's and I can see why my parents are worried.
I agree. I actually am worried. That's why I have so much hope in people like Anna and like Maxwell. And I believe that the louder they speak, I'm hoping that more people will see that the truth that they're speaking about things, and Patty Sheehan as well. I mean, she's always been an advocate for the last 20 plus years. So I feel like, though, the reason why some of this stuff has gotten through is because we stopped having the conversation. We just kind of got all fat and happy in things were going well, gays were more accepted, gay marriage, immigration wasn't an issue, wasn't on the forefront. And now all of those things have been either taken away, challenged, or are going to be taken away, a lot of the rights. And I feel like it's so important that we have to continue to have the conversation.
And I don't mean to preach, but I'm the oldest in the room.
I'm older than you.
I'm older. But I say this to the young community, the young gay community, the young Hispanic community. Please vote. Please vote. It is powerful. It allows for things to happen. It's when Juan and I have talked to many young people, and I think the number one thing that him and I are horrified is that, and maybe this is a Trump effect, that young people just don't vote anymore, and they don't think it matters, and It matters. My life is at stake.
Yeah, it does matter. I think it's just important to be educated, informed, have the conversation. Whatever your belief system is, if your belief system is about taking away people's rights, we definitely need to have more conversations and more education. So when is it debuting? When is the show debuting?
It debuted already. We released it without fanfare for a couple of reasons. One, am I allowed to talk about the directors? We had two friends of his, two Colombian directors who were considered the equivalent of Oscar nominated directors, and Colombia created this project, but they took their name off the project because they were afraid. And that's where we are now, you know.
Wow.
So when the very same artists who create this are now afraid to, so we decided after talking with my family, Juan's family, to just release it without fanfare.
And we can find it on Facebook.
You can find it on Facebook.
A conversation with.
I hope the media picks this story up because this is very, very important.
Agreed.
Again, for me, my life is at stake.
Agreed. All right. So we're going to go to a conversation with on Facebook. You can find Juan and Boris at the links below. I will make sure that you can find them. And also put a link to a conversation with on my link tree that's scrolling across the bottom there. You gentlemen are an inspiration to me. I hope you know that. I love having these open conversations. I think it's so important, the work that you're doing, the unification efforts that you're making, and the advocacy, because I'm telling you right now, the world is changing. And those of us who have this strong belief that it's moving in a direction that we're not happy with, we really need to stand together. So thank you both so much. I appreciate you guys. Remember, it's Juan Pablo Santa Luna.